people who, and we still have it, but very few people get it. There used to be something called IHSS for people who don't have Medicaid. And these are people who, for various reasons, don't want Medicaid or don't qualify for Medicaid, but they did qualify for IHSS. So for the past few years, past 6 years, California has had a waiver allowing it, not an 1115 waiver, a different kind of waiver, allowing it to experiment with letting all IHSS recipients get their IHSS paid through Medicaid. But that's running out, and the state needs to make a change, and that's why they're working on this. In some states, it's contributed to coverage or access problems. People got cut off who used to get it. People who used to qualify no longer qualify. And on the council, we have a woman on the council who used to live in Arizona. And Arizona is one of the states that implemented an 1115 waiver and included their IHSS program or their home and community-based services, their long-term care, in their 1115 waiver. And she said it was dreadful, that lots of people were eliminated from the program, lots of people stopped receiving benefits. And one of the things that the federal government acknowledges is that particularly in economic downturns, states tend to cut back on the waiver. So just because someone qualifies when it first comes out doesn't mean you're going to still qualify in 5 years. They can change it. And that's an issue as well. Oftentimes they use enrollment caps. So for example, Utah has a waiver, and they cap the program at 25,000 people. Once we got 25,000 people in the program, everybody else goes on a waiting list. Oregon has had a program for a long time. When it started, it was beautiful. But now, when the economy's hurting, they're cutting it back. It started out that everybody had health care in Oregon, but that's not true anymore. Tennessee has done similar things. Arizona and Vermont both operate their long-term care program through the Section 1115 waivers. And it's considered to work in Vermont, although there have been waiting lists. There weren't waiting lists before. So now people are on waiting lists that weren't there before. And I'm telling you about this, and this is, I already alluded to this, the transparency of the waiver approval process has diminished over the years. This is from the Kaiser Family Foundation, leaving limited opportunity for the public to monitor and provide input. So, California has an 1115 advisory board. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the California Foundation of Independent Living Centers. Teresa Favuzzi, I see some hands. Woohoo! Shout out, CFILC. So, Teresa Favuzzi, who is the director of CFILC, is on the state advisory committee. If you see something going on that you can participate in, a webcast, a phone conference, if they're coming to your town, please participate. Because they don't have to let you participate, and it's very important to let them know what's going in there and what needs to go in there. So leadership. I want to tell a story. I'm in a leadership program right now, and they talk about values-based leadership, which means that you lead from your values, which really resonates for me. And one of the things that they try to teach us to do is to tell stories about ourselves, but not stories necessarily to make us look good, but stories more that show what our values are or that show how people in our lives have impacted our values. Because they say that that's memorable and that people look for values in leaders. And I think it's a little different when I'm here at a place like this and I'm talking to a bunch of leaders, because of course all of you are leaders. Who here thinks they're a leader? If you can't raise your hand, just go, yay! All right. Because really, all of you are leaders. No, seriously. I mean, and I think it's fascinating. I so appreciate people who volunteer their time to be on advisory boards, to be on boards and commissions, because it's hard work. And, you know, a lot of times people that we know who volunteer, they do it for the gratification. You know, if you hand a hungry person a can of soup, that feels really good. If you make a policy, you don't get that same feeling that you get putting a can of soup in a hungry person's hands. The gratification is delayed and the impact is larger, but it's very important. And we need smart people, we need dedicated people, and we need informed people, which is part of why you're here. So the story I was going to talk about was when I use personal assistant services, because when I live on my own, I need a personal assistant to help me. I can't live by myself without help. And I didn't learn about this till I was in college, because, I lived at home and my mom did stuff, but I kind of didn't make the connection that what she was doing was something that someone else was going to have to do when I got out on my own. And so I got to college, and kind of one of the ways that I had made it to that point was to deny my disability. And I know that seems difficult considering how I look. I mean, my disability is pretty obvious. But that's only if you look. If I don't look at myself all the time. I don't carry a mirror around, So inside my head, I don't think of myself as a person with a disability. And my mother always emphasized, try to be normal. Try to be normal. Don't talk about disability. Don't hang out with people with disabilities. Try to be normal. And so I did that. I did that all through school, all through high school, and I got to college, and man, it smacked me in the face. Because I am disabled. I am a person with a disability. There's no getting around that. That's not changing. And so I started having problems being depressed. And I was really depressed. And I don't know how many of you have experienced depression, but it's just as painful as anything that you can do as a broken arm or a broken leg. Depression hurts. And I was going to counseling at the counseling center on campus. It was free, which was nice. And then how many of you remember what it's like to be 19 years old? Yeah, things are a lot more dramatic. Sad is more sad, happy is more happy. So after a few weeks, my laundry had built up quite a bit, and I was wearing my Sunday dresses to class, and I kind of needed to figure out how I was going to do my laundry. And so in my dormitory, my room was accessible and the bathroom was accessible, but the laundry room was down 2 flights of stairs. And by the time I took my laundry up and down those stairs, that was it. I was wiped out. I couldn't do anything else for 2 days. And that's also depressing. So I went to my counselor and I was crying. Oh my God! I'm not as good as everybody else because I can't do my laundry. And she said, really? Do you know that if we didn't have to do our laundry, none of us would do our laundry? Do you know that there are people in this world who pay people to do their laundry? Not even people who have a disability, just people who don't like to do their laundry and got a little extra money. There is nothing wrong with not doing your laundry. The point is that if you have limited resources, and that might be physical energy, that might be mental energy, that might be money, that might be time, the point is to spend your resources on what brings you the most joy and what makes the most difference in your life. Wow. When you're 19, that's pretty heady stuff. You really got to think about that. But I like the idea that I didn't have to do my laundry. That was good. I think the other thing that it pointed out, I've been a big fan of the independent living movement ever since I learned about it, because I really like the fact that the central tenet of independent living is not that you're broken and you need to be fixed. Rehab is all about rehabilitating you. But independent living is about, you know what?